Be the envy of the neighborhood. 860 KKAT, where the grass is always greener. Welcome to Gardening Utah. Here's composter and show hoster, Jana Francis.
Welcome to Gardening Utah. I'm your host, Jana Francis. Every week here on Gardening Utah, we give you gardening inspiration and advice from experts across the state. We talk about vegetables, flowers, trees, shrubs, and of course, your lawn. Thank you for listening. I hope this show is something that you'll look forward to checking in with every week. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, Gardening Utah aims to inspire you and keep you in the know of what tasks you should be accomplishing in your yard and meet amazing, informative experts along the way. This show airs on the radio on the weekends here in Utah at 10 a.m. on 860 AM KKAT, and episodes drop every weekend on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, so hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. It's planting season, and I've got my good buddy Cameron Alcott with Progressive Plants on the show with me today, and he's going to go over a bunch of incredible perennials that you can add to your garden this fall that will come back year after year. He's also going to talk about the benefits of planting in the fall and why you should heavily consider it. So we're going to get into all of that right after this. But first, the tip of the week.
860 KKAT with your Gardening Utah tip of the week.
My tip of the week is, when is the best time to transplant daylilies? Well, daylilies are a little bit more versatile than iris as far as when you can plant them and when they're going to bloom next. So daylilies, or Hemerocallis, are among some of the most versatile and forgiving perennial flowers there are. They grow and divide under almost any conditions. They'll grow in the sun, they'll grow in part shade. They do extremely well in a lot of different conditions, and the more sun they get, the more they bloom. Although if it's a really dark colored daylily, they should be planted where they get a little bit of afternoon sun so that those beautiful blooms do not fade and they last a little bit longer during the day that the lily blooms. So they bloom the year they're planted, and they rapidly spread and produce large plants with many of their blooms. So daylilies can be planted in early spring or early fall. Although they do tolerate being transplanted at any time of year, it just impacts when it's going to bloom. So right now, about 6 weeks before the first frost really becomes established, is a great time to transplant daylilies. When the soil temperature is moderate, it really helps them become reestablished more quickly. And if they're transplanted in early spring, they may still bloom that year, but it's not guaranteed. But now there's the time of year that you can transplant daylilies, but when is the best time as far as how old the plant is? Well, you can transplant daylilies anywhere between 3 and 5 years, but really you're going to want to kind of watch it, because the best time to divide a clump of daylilies is when it becomes too dense and it will just start to produce fewer flowers. And that's when you know, okay, this clump really needs to be divided. So to divide that plant, you dig up the clump, shake the soil off, use like a spading fork or maybe a weeding tool, and that will help you pull the clump apart in sections that contain a big grouping of those fleshy roots and at least one big fan of leaves. So 3 or 4 fans is what I like to go with, because the plant will become reestablished more quickly. I don't like to separate them down too little, because I kind of like them to, like I said, have a better chance of reblooming next year. And then from that point, you're going to want to cut the leaves back about 6 inches. Also, really important, when you do dig up a bed of daylilies, you're going to really want to watch for pests. So snails, huge pest of daylilies that really love to hide way down in there in the crowns when you can't really see them in between those leaves. And I just like to make sure that when we do divide daylilies, that we really remove all of that extra plant material, so that you're disrupting the life cycle of whatever pests are down in there. Now, if you are replanting daylilies into a bed where you're not getting a lot of blooms and you think it's because there's a little bit of poor soil, make sure to replant the daylilies with about 2 inches of compost on the top of that soil, and dig or till the compost down to about 10 inches. So you're really going to want to just amend that soil with some compost so that those daylilies can live in healthier soil and hopefully do better in the future. So once you've prepared your soil, what I like to do when I plant the daylilies, I like to do them about 18 to 24 inches apart. And when I'm digging the hole, I make the hole big enough to where the roots can go straight down into the soil. And you're going to want to make, I kind of do, it's like a cone, kind of a reverse cone of soil in the middle of that hole. And then I spread the roots around the cone. And that makes it to where the daylily is a little bit more established. And I plant those daylily divisions so that the crown, where the place where the leaves meet the roots, is about an inch or less underneath the soil. And then obviously from the soil around the roots, and give it a good watering. Now, anytime you're going to be doing this, you're going to want to keep an eye on those roots. You're going to want to keep them moist for at least a few weeks until you feel like they've become established. So I'm going to go out this weekend. I'm going to be transplanting some of my daylilies. I have a couple different beautiful clumps of really pretty colors that I've purchased from like farmers markets and things. And, if you don't have extra room to plant those extra daylilies, a lot of times neighbors love to add them to their yard, or you can just give me a call.
And that's your Gardening Utah tip of the week, brought to you by the Advocates. If you're in an accident, you deserve an advocate. Call 801-355-5550 or visit utahadvocates.com. Never miss a tip for your garden and never miss an episode. The Gardening Utah Podcast with Jana Francis on 860 KKAT.
Cameron, thanks for being on my show.
Jana Francis.
It's been a while.
Wow. Yeah, it has. You're so grown up now.
Oh my gosh, you've been busy.
Yeah, this has been probably the craziest year I've ever seen. And what's funny is that I said that last year too. And then I think I said that the year before that. But this is like legit the craziest year that I've ever seen in the nursery business.
Why?
Just a lot of we're just like moving a lot of plants, more than I think that we ever have before. I think we're actually having our best year since before the crash of 2008. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up at the end of this season. And then, with the economy the way that it's been, I mean, it's a little interesting, I think. But it's not. I wish I could say that there's like some rhyme or reason to it, but I mean, people are still planting, projects are still going in. So even with like the inflation and the drought and everything like that, I mean, but what I have noticed is that people are definitely being much more conscious about how they're going about their planting.
As they should, yes.
Yards. Yeah. Yep. So we're seeing a lot more, as we're fielding a lot more questions of, hey, what's going to work with all this, drought that we're having? What works without water? What should I be planting for? And having conversations with people just ripping out their lawns in general, which I think is awesome. So that's going to kind of like turn our industry on its head, because I'm really interested to see like what does a really large yard, because we do have some properties that are very big around here.
Yeah.
What does that look like with little to no grass?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and I know.
Right? So like, what if we just like took like all the grass out of your yard, Jana?
I'm trying to picture like, okay, would I have, shrubs and like little, maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, but like, would it just be this sea of shrubs, or would I have trees everywhere and have tons and tons of shade? Or would it be more like little rose garden here, a little pollinator garden here? I mean, vegetables there. What do you think? What does it look like?
See, that's the thing, that I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a landscape architect, so, this isn't my job to come up with these things. But for me, like, I'm just thinking like, wow, if we actually really have to have like a fundamental shift in how we design our yards, that's going to create a really interesting new way of landscaping that I don't think has ever been seen before.
Whoa. Well, yeah, because we can't even articulate our thoughts. Right.
Because like lawn has been so huge in how we landscape. Like everything revolves around the lawn. I mean, like the local scapes crowd, everything revolves around that central open shape, which is, let's face it, usually lawn.
Yeah.
But if that starts to go away or gets reduced so much, what does the rest of the planting around here look like?
Yeah.
Sure. And it's not like, the nice thing is like, I know we're all concerned about, saving water and, does that turn into rock? Well, that's not a real solution, because, if you start landscaping like Las Vegas or like Phoenix, that's going to end up being like a maintenance nightmare because they really get hardly any water all year long. So they don't have like the same type of like weed germination rate, so they don't get enough snow. We still get snow. We still get a lot of moisture. So we're more of like a high desert steppe. So we have to kind of landscape accordingly. And really the best way to eliminate maintenance in your yard is to make sure that you still have a lot of foliage in there, and just using plants that are adapted to dealing with, the winters that we have, but then, growing during the growing season and having enough foliage and I guess real estate cover to cover the ground so you don't get like a whole lot of weeds, but can also adapt to the heat as well. So, the Phoenix or Las Vegas style xeriscape is not the answer for Utah. Straight up. It is.
Totally agree.
It is not.
Yes.
But the English garden also is not the answer for Utah.
Yeah.
But that's what we are used to.
Right. Oh my gosh. Way to blow my mind just like straight away at the beginning of the show.
Right. So again, what does that look like?
Yeah. What does it look like?
I have some ideas, but I think what is kind of happening now is that now that it's pretty obvious that climate change is a thing, the drought is a thing. I think that focusing a little bit more on perennial color is going to be a big deal because they're cheap and affordable. They also are a really good way to kind of experiment to see what works and what doesn't. A lot of times you don't want to invest in your several $100 trees as let's see if this works, because that's a couple $100 that you're just out if it doesn't,
Yeah.
But, perennials, you're spending like, $12, $15, maybe 20 on the high end. If it doesn't come back, it doesn't come back. That's fine. But let's see how it performs during the heat of summer. Let's give it like 2 or 3 years in the ground and really see how it performs. Because I've been really surprised on a lot of different perennials that are out there, and how to landscape and how to arrange them, I think is really kind of interesting. And I think that there's like the sky's the limit on just making it decorative and beautiful.
Yeah.
So because you can still have like the English cottage garden type look with desert perennials. That's not unreasonable.
That's a good point.
So, yeah. And you could also do like a lot of like formal style type stuff. You can do a lot of massing. Like there's a bunch of things that you can do, like, or even like the contemporary modern type designs. Like you can do a lot with like perennials and grasses. So the possibilities I think are kind of endless. And so, so that might be kind of fun to talk about today. It's like,
let's do it.
What kind of perennials should we be looking at? I mean, because like, what do you have in your yard? I mean, I already know the answer to this question, but I want you to say it.
Well, I have a lot of echinacea. I have an extraordinarily massive amount of iris, which is really awesome in May and then not awesome the rest of the year, right?
Right.
But
you know my feelings on iris.
I know it's not your favorite. It is. I know. I know. Let's see. I have some crocosma. I've got did I say echinacea? Some really pretty coneflower right now. I got a bright, I normally don't like red flowers, but last year I did buy a red echinacea that just had kind of an off red color, and it is in bloom right now, and I'm literally obsessed. It's so pretty. Now I want like 20 of them.
Do you remember the cultivar name? Because that's one genus that they've been doing a lot of breeding with.
I have no idea.
It was pretty and it was red. I'm going to put it in the ground. I get it. Yep. I do the same thing. I've got all sorts of things in my yard that I'm just like, I don't know what this is, but I planted it. It's
pretty. I have lots of catmints. I've got some pugsters. I've got some hibiscus, which I'm obsessed with. I'm literally obsessed with it right now. The summer hibiscus, right? But you tell me the cultivar. Is it like mallow?
Yeah, well, it's like rose mallow is the common name for it, or perennial hibiscus, dinnerplate hibiscus. There's like a whole bunch. River Winters has their Summerific series, which is amazing. They're probably one of the best bloomers that I've ever seen, and I absolutely love them because they're so tropical looking, but yet at the same time they can actually go with like a cottage garden type look, or if you just like want something kind of flower. They also work in formal gardens.
Yeah,
and they give you like 4 weeks of color, and they're
I know.
gorgeous.
At the time of year when not a lot blooms. And
Yeah.
they don't seem they seem very drought tolerant.
They have really extensive root systems. Like they spread everywhere. I don't know. Here's the funny thing is, like, I wouldn't like call them drought tolerant because they actually do take quite a bit of water, but they do such a good job of finding it in the ground by themselves that they don't really, like, once they get established, they don't need that much from you.
Yeah, because
So
have you been here to my house when the entrance of my neighborhood on each side of like the I don't know, kind of the pillar
where the
openings?
sign, the pillar things are at. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's 2 massive ones, one on each side, and that area doesn't get irrigated at all.
Mhm.
And they look insane. They're so pretty right now.
Yeah, I had to transplant one time, and so I pulled it out. I cut one of the roots, they were really thick, by the way, like, I don't know, half an inch thick. So, and I was like, oh, just for fun, I want to see how far this goes. So I started pulling on it like a gossamer thread. And you know, like those Bugs Bunny cartoons with that big hairy monster where like Bugs Bunny would go and grab the hair and he just like run off the other direction. And pretty soon, like the thread never ends and then the monster's just gone. Yeah, that's what it felt like. That thing went on for like 60 feet. No joke. It was crazy.
Holy cow.
It was weird.
It sounds like pulling a willow out of the ground.
I had no idea they worked like that. So
wow.
But no, perennial hibiscus, I think, are a really good safe bet. I mean, and now is like a great time to try to get them because like they're in bloom right now at all the garden centers, and so you know which color that you're going to get. So like the ones that we have right now are just looking so amazing. There's one that's called Ballet Slippers that is just gorgeous. It's like kind of like a lightish, like blush pink, and kind of like a greenish bronze leaves and stuff is really kind of pretty. Evening Rose is another really pretty one. That one's more of like a traditional like pink, kind of like all the pillows in your house.
Yeah.
So those ones are absolutely gorgeous. There's and then there's like Holy Grail, which is really kind of interesting, and it's a red flower with like burgundy foliage. So you can do a lot with it. So they can be interesting in the landscape. You know, you can get like your foliage color and the size with it, you know, to kind of make it like a little blob. And then when they start blooming, it just sets them over the top.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing that I don't like about perennial hibiscus is that it doesn't wake up until like the middle of June.
Yep.
You know, but then a month later, it's like 4 feet tall. So
yeah, it's a really wild growing pattern. But this time of year, there's such a breath of fresh air. I need to stock up. I need way more than I have.
Oh yeah, you should totally come. There's another one that's called French Vanilla that is just like the most beautiful, like cream color with the red center.
Oh
like
my.
It's like when you look at it, it's like looking at.
Do you have it on your
French
website?
Vanilla ice cream. So yeah, it totally is.
I'm looking it up right now.
Look it up. It is gorgeous. The pictures don't even do it justice. Like it's like in person, it's just so velvety. It feels like you're in like a specialty ice cream store when you're looking at it.
Oh my gosh, you're not joking. Hibiscus Summerific French Vanilla. Oh man. Okay, everybody, I'm putting this link in the episode notes. Is it a proven winner?
It is. So I think Summerific, that entire series is by proven winners. And those are the ones that I've been like the most impressed with, like on a very personal level. So there's other cultivars of perennial hibiscus. I've noticed that they don't quite bloom as long or as profusely. So I think that Proven Winners is selecting for the sheer volume, probably the size of the flowers, and how long that they are blooming for.
Yeah, gotcha. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I'm getting some. No joke.
Yeah, Midnight Marvel's really good too. There's a bunch. So
Midnight Marvel.
Yeah.
Now I got to look that one up. So Hibiscus Summerific. I'm obsessed with it. Is it got green or purple foliage?
Purple-ish.
Okay. Oh wow.
Starry Night. You should look at Starry Night.
Okay, everybody listening, I will link you.
I don't think that's a proven winner, but Starry Night is unbelievable.
Oh, wow. That is beautiful. It almost has like dark, like texture to it on the lines.
Mm-hmm.
That's so pretty. Okay, get yourself some hibiscus, everybody.
Yeah. Every yard needs to have one.
Absolutely. It's so beautiful. What else? What else is everybody planting right now, perennial wise? I mean, I know that, the salvias and the pugster butterfly bush and all of that. What else is just really big right now?
I've really noticed people are kind of going back to like the natives a little bit too, or at least derivatives of natives. So yarrow, that's been around forever. And, 30 years ago, people were like, oh, that's a weed, and now people are embracing it because they help the pollinators out a lot. I mean, you'll see like a lot of bees and stuff on them, and they come in so many different colors. And there's been a lot of breeding that's been done to make them less seedy, I guess. They don't spread anywhere near as much. And they're more upright, because a lot of the criticisms of a lot of yarrow is that they flop over. But there are some really cool ones that are out on the market. I like the new vintage series. I mean, they have like some pink ones and some white ones on there. There's also the Desert Eve series that's a little bit more compact and more upright. There's one that's called Red. That's just more of like a really like deep red color that is gorgeous. My favorite one is Terracotta, and it's more of like a golden orange. So that one's been really neat to look at. There's another type of yarrow. It's kind of in the different family. It's not the Achillea millefolium that people are usually used to, but it's an Achillea tarmica, and that's actually starts with a P for tarmica.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's like like Pteranodon that started with a P, like if you're into dinosaurs and stuff. So, but there's this cultivar is called like Peter Cottontail, and it looks a lot like baby's breath, like the Gypsophilia that you get in a lot of different like floral arrangements and stuff. Yeah. And Peter Cottontail has like these double white flowers on them that are absolutely beautiful. The only downside is that they can spread a little bit. So if you make sure that if you get it, you have a space for it to kind of let it go and do its thing, because it's going to mix in with your garden beds quite a bit. But that one's been really popular, and it came out of nowhere. We started carrying it like last year, and sold out like a week. And I was like, what?
Really?
Yeah. And then everybody else wanted it after that too. So like this year we grew several hundred of them, and I think we scheduled 600 growing, and now we're down to our last 200.
Oh my word.
So it's been really interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. I'm reading Sassy Summer Sangria. That's a pretty color.
Yeah, the Sassy series is really kind of neat too.
That is so neat. Sassy Summer Sunset, Sassy Summer Taffy. Those are really great colors.
860 KKAT with Jenna Francis and Gardening Utah.
We are supported by ProgressivePlant.com. They are the experts that the professionals go to for all things plants. Progressive Plants has over 1 million plants at their 100-acre nursery up in Copperton. And you can shop those plants from right at home at ProgressivePlants.com. They are your neighbor's next door and experts at helping you choose the perfect and unique plants that will thrive in your location. Progressive Plants is passionate about helping homeowners, expert gardeners, novices alike choose the correct plant for your soil. They don't just grow plants, they know plants. Let Progressive Plants help you today. Just go to ProgressivePlants.com and check out their wide selection. You can also go to the Design tab and look at the expert designers that they have that can help you plan your perfect yard. Visit ProgressivePlants.com today.
She really does have the nicest yard on the block. It's Gardening Utah with Jenna Francis on 860 KKAT.
Welcome back to Gardening Utah. I'm your host, Jenna Francis, hanging out today with Cameron Alcott with Progressive Plants, and we're talking easy mode desert perennials. Is that what you said?
Yep, easy mode desert perennials.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's just like, so many people just kind of go with like the normal easy stuff, like your echinaceas or like, black-eyed Susan, which, I mean, they're really beautiful, but I mean, let's face it, like everybody has them. And, the landscape design thing, it's really kind of funny where people will come in and they're like, I want my yard to look different than anybody else's, but I want everything that everybody has.
I bet.
So I just have always thought that was kind of funny. It's like, I have to have salvia, I have to have echinacea, which is great. They're all very pretty, but there's a lot of perennials that are out there that actually work in this locale that I think are absolutely stellar that you don't see very often. We were kind of talking about like the yarrow in the last segment. I mean, those have actually come a long way since, we first started messing with them like years and years ago. And another one that I think is really kind of neat is the Agastache or Agastache. It's a dead language. We don't know how to pronounce it in Latin, but it's, spelled weird. It's like mustache, but we don't call it mustache,
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I don't know.
What is
I'm
wrong
going to
with
start
that?
calling it mustaches. I'm going to shave my beard and just have a mustache. So
That's amazing.
But
hyssop.
the Agus, yeah, it's called hyssop. That's like the common name, or hummingbird mint. Some people call it that. But those are absolutely gorgeous. They come in all sorts of different colors. There's like yellow and gold and red, and they smell really good too. So if you kind of like break the stems a little bit, or just wave your hands over them and stuff like that, just kind of, you can get like a lot of aroma out of them. They attract a lot of bees, and I see a lot of hummingbirds on them too, because they have like those trumpety type flowers.
Oh yeah,
but they're pretty easy mode. I think sometimes we lose them over the winter, so sometimes they can be kind of borderline hardy here. Some cultivars are going to be better than others, but man, when they are popping off, there is nothing that has as long of a bloom time. They just go and go and go and go and go for like 8 weeks, maybe even 10.
You're kidding.
No, they're great.
And they're considered a desert perennial?
Yeah, once they get established, they hardly really require any water. They have like really extensive root systems. And so, kind of like the rose mallow that we were talking earlier about, their roots will spread into the ground and they'll find a lot of their own water a lot of times. So after you get them established, they're pretty tough.
Yeah.
So another one that I really like, these were normally kind of like considered more of like annuals. So these ones are kind of like a relative of like the annual flowering onion.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that have like the big purple blooms on them that are like the size of your head.
Yep.
So there are some perennial ones that are absolutely gorgeous. And my girlfriend's house, we just re-landscaped her backyard, and we actually lined some stepping stones, not stepping stones, they're concrete steps in her backyard as a pathway with that Mexican beach pebble rock. That's a look that's really popular right now.
Ooh.
It's more of like a very formal type look, very modern, contemporary style design. I like the alliums in those types of designs because when they're not flowering, they actually have a real like upright structure to them. They're kind of like a grass-like type leaf. They're more upright. And then they send up this huge amount of little round balls that are just purple that also attract a lot of pollinators that are absolutely just gorgeous. And those flowers just last forever and ever. Like the ones that are here at the nursery, they've been going since middle of July.
Wow.
And they just haven't stopped. I actually posted something on the Utah Gardeners Facebook page a couple of weeks ago with a little video of like how insanely, like how I'd say the bloom count is on a lot of those. So I think they're really cool. You can use them on like in formal gardens or informal gardens. They have like a lot of different uses. So
they're a lot like chives, but it seems like more of an improved variety, if you will.
Yeah. And from what I understand, they're not supposed to really go to seed like a lot of like the other onions are. So they hopefully will be like a little bit less maintenance. I haven't had any go to seed on me. So if other people are experiencing it, that's, news to me. So,
yeah.
There's another hardy snapdragon that I like that doesn't get a whole lot of love.
Really?
The Latin name is, I'm going to slaughter this. It's Antihyrinum sempervirens, Drew's Folly.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're on our website, just type in like hardy snapdragon and it'll come up.
Yeah, that's a lot easier than the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, I see you. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's
Summer
super
snapdragon.
pretty. Yeah, they've been using that in Colorado a little bit. I can't remember if it's a Plant Select or not, but it's something that was like really kind of cool. So those are really neat.
Hardy Snapdragon. I didn't realize there was such a thing. Honestly, I just literally thought there was just the annual Snapdragon.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, there's a hardy one, and they are absolutely gorgeous when they are blooming. So here's another one that doesn't get used a lot. There's a euphorbia that's called wood spurge. I think the varietal name is Rabier. Probably slaughtering that Latin as well. That one is a really interesting plant because, I mean, it's not like super showy, but it has a really cool structure to it, and it's a very dark green. It's almost like kind of like succulent looking, and sometimes it can be kind of like semi evergreen depending on how cold it is, but it has like these like sulfury chartreuse type flowers that kind of pop up that turn into like this rusty reddish color.
Oh, wow.
And again, once it gets established, like it doesn't care if you water it or not. So,
Not to be confused with myrtle spurge, though, right?
No, it's in the same family because euphorbias are actually, it's a huge family, but it is not a myrtle spurge.
Okay, yeah, it looks different, but it's really pretty.
Yep.
Now, is the wood spurge, like you mentioned, is that toxic? Kind of like myrtle spurge?
You know what? I honestly don't know the answer to that question, but I would imagine that most of the euphorbias have similar defense mechanisms. Some are just going to be more intense than others. And so, yeah, like the myrtle spurge, that's like, the invasive species. Yeah, that one's kind of scary, but I haven't really had like any reactions to the one that we have here at the nursery. So I would imagine it's relatively safe.
Yeah.
So. These ones are never get used. Helianthemums, also known as a sunrose.
Ooh, sunrose.
These are absolutely gorgeous. They are more of a short, almost like a woody type of perennial, but when they flower, they are so cool. They're like they're kind of flat. They kind of, creep around a little bit. They look really good in like rock gardens. And
those are cool.
Yeah, those are really neat. I don't think those get enough love in the landscape.
They don't.
At all.
Those are beautiful. And those seem pretty drought tolerant as well.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think they're a great like border type plant. So if you're going to have like grow them along like the borders of your flower beds, I think that they are absolutely stellar for that purpose. And there's a couple of different varieties. There's like Benfada and Fire Dragon, and each one of those will have like slightly different leaf colors. Like one's more silver, one's more green, one has like pink flowers, the other one's more like like yellow or reddish. So there's a lot of variety that you can kind of work with it. So another one that our friends Molly and Liz and I I think we did a video for Molly for her YouTube channel out of my place, and we found these Heliopsis. It's a variety is called Bleeding Hearts. It has burgundy foliage and then orange and yellow flowers, and got about 4 feet tall.
Whoa!
Yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous. And I don't see anybody using it a ton, but they really need to be. So they look absolutely fantastic. I'm a sucker for like, foliage color, textures, and I do like flowers a lot. So I like things that have like a lot of like round shapes to them. So like anything that's in like the aster family, a lot of times the rose family, I like those circular patterns inside the flowers and stuff. Some of the spiky ones are kind of neat, but I just, for some odd reason, I really like that round look. So daylilies are actually really drought tolerant.
I
just
love
don't-
daylilies.
I know.
I
You
don't-
like all
I-
the stuff that I don't.
I know. I can't say I love the ones that are just orange and that, just plain orange, but I like to get into all the funky varieties.
Yeah, and there's some really cool varieties that are out. Like there's some rebloomers that are really good. I mean, Stella d'Oro, I think that's the reason why I don't like daylilies a lot is because like every commercial project, or it seems like every landscape contractor that's out there, they're just like, oh, just give me some Stella d'Oro daylilies and some, Shasta daisies or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like the most boring landscape ever.
Yes.
But there have been some pretty cool daylilies to kind of come out. Apricot Sparkles, I thought had a really good color if you like that light apricot type of look. Bella Lugosi was actually one that was really pretty too. It was like more of like a purpley type color that I really liked. What was the other one? Pardon Me that's a really good red one, and it's more of like a rebloomer, so it's not like a 2 weeks and then you're done type of deal. I don't know. I don't know. Daylilies have just like,
Why?
they just look like grasses. I don't know. I don't know. I just have never liked them. It's like the same thing with like irises. Like, I don't know. I just don't like irises. I mean, but that's just it. Everybody has their thing. So,
Yeah.
let's see.
I never met
Oh
an
my
iris I
gosh.
didn't like. Except I don't love the older varieties of iris that aren't bearded. I'm kind of a stuck up for all the new ones, the real ruffly and the beautiful and the
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah. Oh, here's one. Bee balms.
Oh, I'm obsessed.
Yeah, Monardas. So like the old varieties of bee balms, and so a lot of listeners might actually kind of be like, oh, bee balm, like Monarda, that stuff was like terrible. They always got like powdery mildew and yada, 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 all that stuff. Yes, that is true. The old varieties are terrible. But the new ones that have kind of come out, like there's a series called BU, like BEE-YOU. So, there's that entire series is absolutely fantastic. They're short, compact. They don't get powdery mildew. They
Wow.
don't flop. And they just, once they start blooming, they just kind of keep going for a long time. They start to kind of taper off like in September or so, but they've been absolutely a dream to grow here at the nursery, because a lot of times you get like powdery mildew on Monarda, especially if you had like overhead watering. That's what they would kind of get, because the water would get on their leaves and then just yay, bold.
Yeah.
But the BU series, like we're not seeing that at all here at the farm. So they've been an absolute dream to grow, and in the landscape, they've been doing pretty good too. So there's another one that's a Sugar Buzz series called Bubblegum Blast. That's just like that really like hot pink, like bubblegum type color. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So
I didn't realize there was other colors other than purple.
yeah, there's like purple, there's like a red color, like cardinalish type red, hot pink. I mean, just they're really cool. So
And the bees go insane over them.
they go insane over them too. So oh yeah, there's another Monarda that we did. This one's really weird. This is called Bebop. I'd never heard of it before.
Okay.
And the city of Basalt over in Colorado actually contracted with us to grow it for a project they're doing to revitalize their central downtown area. And I've got like 40 of these left at the time of recording this. And it is the coolest plant that I've ever seen from maybe from like just a horticultural standpoint. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but it has the most unique colored flowers and flower shapes. And then it's just really kind of hard to describe. And I wish I understood like flower anatomy a little bit better, because it's an unusual flower. I don't know if you're
how do I spell it?
Just search up Bebop, BEEBOP on our website.
Okay.
And then just look at the first picture that comes
Whoa,
up.
that is crazy.
Right? Isn't that nuts?
That's the weirdest looking flower I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's kind of nutty.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll link you guys to it. It's like white and spiky with yellow undertones, and it's almost like they're stacked flowers on top of flowers, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, this is how like men and women view the world differently. Like you have words for things, And I'm just like, this is cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
Highly attractive to native pollinators. That's even better.
Yeah.
I need one or two. Okay, that actually leads into a question I have. Okay, so you sit here and we're looking at all these flowers and we're discussing what's cool and the coloring and everything. And the question becomes, when you're planting these perennials, how many are you going to want of each one in order to not have your yard look like, a little bit of this, that, and the other? Or like our friend Lance Walheim said, a crayon box that just threw up,
Yeah, I still prefer the murder scene for clowns.
Oh, yeah, that's even better. So would you say like 3 or 5?
A lot of it depends on the space that you have to work with. Like if you just have like a teeny tiny courtyard, one's going to be enough. So I would say like it depends on your viewing distance and how big your beds are. Okay. So if you are going to be admiring something and say like, the back of your property off of your patio, like say like where your hot tub's at, Janet, like at your house specifically.
Yeah.
In your backyard, I would probably do groupings of 5 to 7.
Okay.
Okay.
How far spaced apart?
That's entirely up to you.
Okay.
But usually if I'm doing the planting, I usually look and see like how wide does this get?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll take either a third and sometimes up to half of that. And that's how close I'll plant them. So if something gets 3 feet wide, right? Yeah, I might, plant them 2 feet apart, maybe even 1.5.
Okay.
That's just me because I like really dense plantings. And so if you like more negative space, plant them farther apart. That's entirely up to you.
Got it.
Okay. So, but for reference, your back flower beds are probably 50 feet away from
your
back patio. So you need more of them to create a bigger blob of color than you would if it was like 10 feet away. If it's 10 feet away, you can do more with less, if that kind of makes sense.
Absolutely, it does.
Yep. And then if it's something that's farther away, a lot of times I will do less with more.
Okay. Got it.
So it just depends.
Yeah.
Or do more with less, whichever one. It works. I don't know. It depends on my mood at the time. It changes. Yeah. You could ask me that question tomorrow and I might give you a different answer.
It just depends on the mood.
Yep.
So with the short time left we have on this show, I mean, this is obviously planting season, right? I mean, we are headed straight into fall. Reiterate for our listeners why this is such a good time to plant.
You want to try to get your plants established before winter hits, but you want to get them way established way before next summer. Summer kills more plants than winter does a lot of times. And then if you don't want to be out there trying to baby your plants like every 2 or 3 hours next summer in the heat, like get them planted now, get them in the ground so you don't have to babysit them anywhere near as much for the next summer.
Got it. And as far as watering tips, we're going to want to make sure through that winter that...
Yeah. So if we're not getting a whole lot of snow, or if you're in a city that runs on secondary water and they're shutting off your water early, because I know a lot of people are shutting them off in September, you are going to want to, make sure that you water late into the season.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's it. I can't believe we're done. We could just sit here and talk all day. Half the time when we're talking, I'm like, why aren't we recording this, Cameron? This is good stuff.
Right, I know.
Well, thanks for being here.
Yep, thank you.
And I'll put this all in the episode notes to link you all to the beautiful plants we talked about today. And we'll see you soon right here in Gardening Utah.
When you're ready to grow big or go home, make your neighbors green with envy. Get the Gardening in Utah podcast, Gardening Utah. Available wherever you get your podcasts and at 860kkat.com/garden. It's the Gardening Utah Proven Winner's Color Choice Shrub of the Week. Here's Cameron Alcott with Progressive Plants.
Hey, this is Cameron at Progressive Plants, and this week's Proven Winners Color Choice Shrub of the Week is actually a rose. It's called Rosa Reminiscent Coral. This is one of my favorite new roses that Proven Winners has put out, and it represents a new day for rose lovers, combining the classic beauty and fragrance of old-fashioned roses with modern-day performance. These roses were developed in Serbia by a breeding team that is devoted to bringing out the best in color, fragrance, petal count, and flower power. Bowl-shaped flowers with deep pink coral tones and a copper center, and the deadheading is not required for continuous blooms. The blooms are actually really beautiful. They hold up to the heat in Utah really well, and is probably my new favorite selection to come out in the last 5 or 6 years. You can get yours at progressiveplants.com. You can just search up Reminiscent Coral in our search engine, or you can just click the link in the episode notes.
Look for the Proven Winners white containers at progressiveplants.com or at your local garden center.
We are supported by ProgressivePlant.com. They are the experts that the professionals go to for all things plants. Progressive Plants has over 1 million plants at their 100-acre nursery up in Copperton. And you can shop those plants from right at home at ProgressivePlants.com. They are your neighbors next door and experts at helping you choose the perfect and unique plants that will thrive in your location. Progressive Plants is passionate about helping homeowners, expert gardeners, novices alike choose the correct plant for your soil. They don't just grow plants, they know plants. Let Progressive Plants help you today. Just go to progressiveplants.com and check out their wide selection. You can also go to the design tab and look at the expert designers that they have that can help you plan your perfect yard. Visit progressiveplants.com today.
Be inspired by Steals.com, where you can discover thousands of special items, all at amazing prices. At Steals.com, women are having fun discovering something new every day. It's a must-have for busy moms. Download the mobile app and make it easy to shop on the go. Now it's your turn. Discover new selections and unbeatable prices. Shop Steals.com and start saving today. Steals.com, Steals.com.